I spent a lot of time looking at Shelley Taylor's work, The Necessity of Positive Illusion. Yeah, well, I am not a fan of the idea of positive illusions in the least.
Okay.
I think it's one of the most dangerous philosophical ideas ever put forward by academics. That, and I know it's aligned with terror management theory too. That we need to inhabit a world of something like necessary fiction. And it's predicated on the idea that reality itself is so unbearable that if we ever saw it in its unvarnished form, it would demolish us.
Yeah, but no, I'm not there either. Yeah.
Okay. So a better model, perhaps.
Well, go back. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say one thing is you were talking about the hierarchy of belief earlier. Go back to that. Illusory beliefs at the very fundamental level, which allow you to have some positive motivation, getting up in the morning, dealing with life and so forth. Those actually could be very good. They're very strong, positive motivation to move ahead, to go, to act in the world. You don't want illusions at the higher levels, right? You can't. If you do, you actually will not be able to deal with the real world. As I was bringing up before, if I have an illusion about what a good swimmer I am and I jump into a pool and I can't swim, that's pretty damn unfortunate, right? So I do think, Shelley and others didn't make this distinction about using hierarchy, but go back to what you were talking about earlier. If you incorporate it into a hierarchical system, illusions at the bottom could be wonderfully and positively motivating. As you move up, they're very, very dangerous, right?
Okay, so let's focus on that, because I don't think that the proper replacement for a naive optimism is a functional illusion, because I don't think that the retooling produces an illusion. So let me explain why. If you are dealing with people with an anxiety disorder, you could have them organize a hierarchy of fear, things they'll avoid, right? And then you can get them to rank order the severity of that fear. And then you can get them to start working on, let's say, the least severe fear. And you can start to expose them to that, right? You can have them imagine them being in that situation or start acting it out. Now, that exposure is predicated on the idea that if they face what plagues them, they'll prevail. And that's a faith in learning itself, because we learn on the edge. Everything we learn is on the edge. Everything we learn is in consequence of some minor confrontation with something we don't understand, some minor retooling of our assumptions, and some growth. Okay.
Right. Go back to assimilation accommodation. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes,
and you do that. Yes. You do that with a certain degree of trepidation and excitement.
Right. You learn when you need to accommodate and assimilate. Right. Okay.
Right. Okay. So here's a fundamental assumption that's not illusory. If you face the world forthrightly and voluntarily, with faith in your ability to prevail, the pathway forward will make itself known to you in the best manner possible. It's the axiom of learning itself. It's what we facilitate in our children. And you can make an assumption that it's not unreasonable to make the assumption that the cosmos itself is established on that principle. And I mean that in that deep sense. So the terror management theorist characters, right, deriving their theories from Ernest Becker. I loved Ernest Becker's book.
I love Ernest Becker too.
But he's also deeply wrong. The hero myth that Becker lays out is not an illusion. It's actually the fundamental principle by which adaptation takes place. Because confronting a sequence of minor traumas, let's say, is exactly what fortifies you, right? It's the principle of medicine itself. A little bit of the poison is what strengthens you. And it's also the nature of learning. And so to have faith in that capacity, above all, is not illusory. In fact, it's faith in the fundamental mechanism by which people formulate their adaptation. And that's, see, Becker, there was a whole literature that Becker didn't know of, that he didn't pay any attention to. And so he went astray in his fundamental presumptions, and so did the terror management theorists in consequence.
But you've got to believe also that not everything works on faith. I mean, if the fact that you can't swim, I'm going to go back to this example again, and you jump in the water because you think you can do it. Faith is not going to allow you to survive.
That's stupidity. Right?
Well, that's stupidity, but that's what you're saying. But it sounds like stupidity, but that's what you're saying. I mean, the fact is, I think, it's all a matter of opinion, but I think we learn by being exposed to situations that are new, that we are able to assimilate. If it is too different, assimilate, or we can assimilate it because it works, or we can accommodate our structures to basically incorporate it. If there is too much of a disconnect, it can't happen. And,
right, because we don't know. That's right. We don't know how to manage the
reorganization. That's what's happening in trauma. That's
exactly.
Right. But in trauma, the disconnect is at the bedrock level. Whereas in much daily life, the disconnect, I don't want to talk about small traumas. It's sort of interesting, Jordan, that the word trauma gets so overused now, right?
Yes, that's for sure.
I get a call from a podcaster in England that wants me to talk about all the people being traumatized by the Queen's death. This is an old woman that you could expect would die, That's really, I don't call that trauma, right? And you probably wouldn't either. We now live in a world where the word has gotten so overused that I feel it demeans it in a way that people who really are traumatized and go through your trauma, sort of aren't being recognized for what they have to go through.
Of course,
right?
it's careless. It's very careless.